Thanks for tuning into the For Those Made to Do podcast. We are your hosts, Mandy Sahota
and Bianca Pavel. This podcast is all about the doers who have achieved career success in the UAE and the stories that go with it.
In this episode of For Those Made to Do Logistics and Supply Chain, we have the pleasure of speaking to Ayman Kabbara. With 20 years' experience of working in the logistics sector, he shares the trajectory of where the industry is heading and the room for innovation. If you have a disruptive and scenario planning mindset, we learned that maybe this is an industry where you can apply your skills in the region.
If you're curious about how the Middle East is leveraging its strategic trade positioning for growth, how to navigate through geopolitical tensions as a freight forwarder, and how this industry is tackling emissions and global warming, you're in for a treat. Grab some coffee and tune in with us. We hope you enjoy it. Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of For Those Made to Do. Today, we're talking about the engine that powers commerce in the GCC region and the backbone of global trade, the logistics and supply chain industry. Over the past few years, there have been many disruptions and challenges hitting this industry, but it has always shown its resilience and dependability, keeping the world connected and well supplied through a global pandemic, multiple geopolitical interruptions, and even tensions created by modern-day piracy. But despite its importance, this area doesn't always get the interest it deserves from job seekers, primarily because it isn't often in the spotlight and its hiring criteria are quite unique. To better understand how to thrive in this arena, we're excited to have with us Holt alumnus Ayman Kabbara, the current managing director of Scan Global Logistics UAE, who has spent the last 20 years in freight forwarding, building supply chains across the globe in oil and gas, fashion, retail, and energy. Ayman, welcome to our studio, and we're so grateful for your time today. How are you doing?
I'm very good. Thank you so much, Bianca. Lovely introduction, by the way.
Thank you very much. And, lovely to have you.
Thank you so much. Super happy to be here on campus. I feel like I'm at home, and I love to be back.
That's always good.
We always love to hear that. It's really great to have you here. So we always like to start off with a little bit of an icebreaker to get the conversation warmed up. So in your role, you've had the opportunity to travel all around the world. What has been your favorite destination to date?
All right. I have a lot of favorite destinations. I've had the opportunity to travel to a lot of places, and sometimes I've been to the same place over and over and over and over and over again. Sometimes it becomes a bit boring to be back in the same place, but it has never been about the place. It's always been about the adventure or the people I'm traveling with, the people I meet at these destinations. I've had amazing experiences. I have stories from each of these trips and a lot of adventures. I mean, there's some that can be shared here, and so there's some that cannot be shared here.
Which one has been, where's the most obscurest place you've been to, or the one that doesn't get enough shine, shall we say?
Maybe a bit underrated, like people don't know much about it.
I would say Kazakhstan, Almaty, Atirau, and Aktau. They were surprising for me. Totally different. You go to Almaty, it's a different experience than Aktau or Atirau. I've been to, back in the days during my oil and gas years, I've been to Erbil. And it was an amazing experience. I've been to Yemen once to support some of the oil and gas global multinationals, and it was also an unforgettable experience for me. Yeah, some odd places. Then you go to the well-known countries and staple destinations, and there's always something amazing to pick up as well, and something to learn.
Yeah, definitely. I think the more you travel, the more you kind of expose yourself to new things, and it's always a good thing to do if you have the opportunity. So thank you for sharing that. So you've built a very successful career in logistics and shipping of close to 20 years. Can you walk us through some of your key milestones that brought you to where you are today?
I would say I'm still building a career. It's not done yet. And it's, how do we define successful career, right? It's a natural progression of someone who has been in the same industry for quite some time. I mean, how I ended up in this industry is the story, I would say.
Yeah, we'd love to hear it.
Growing up, I never thought I'm going to end up in a profession where I'm moving cargo.
Yes.
I mean, if you go back, you ask any kid today, what would you like to be when you grow up? And I bet you that no one's going to say, I want to grow up to become a freight forwarder. Mm-hmm. I never knew what freight forwarding
Yeah,
is.
same.
I think growing up, I wanted to be an architect, and I was passionate about drawing buildings and interiors. And then I discovered basketball, and I was convinced that I'm going to end up in the NBA. Then my DNA had a different opinion. But then when it was time for me to work towards achieving my dream, I ended up in architecture school for a couple of weeks before my parents convinced me to do business, because it's something that I can start making money from immediately, compared to studying for 6 years to become an architect. I would finish a bachelor's degree and then I'm productive. I remember my sister at the time asking me to pick her up from school, from her university, and they had a job fair. So she said, okay, you know what? Why don't you go and check it out? I did not have anything. I had my laptop, so I had to find a place to print a CV. It was half a page. And I ended up talking to one guy, and the only guy I talked to at the job fair, who ended up asking me back for an interview. And I ended up joining a company as a management trainee, and then 20 years,
the rest is history.
Yeah, exactly.
And because it wasn't something you anticipated to do, what kept you in the industry for so long?
It's an exciting, strange, simple industry. It's moving cargo from point A to point B. How hard can it get, right? It's a simple process as well. However, there's always a problem. There's always disruption. There's always disruption to the actual shipment or to the process. It's like every day you go to work is a new adventure, and anything that happens anywhere in the world can impact our industry. So this feeling constantly on your toes and feeling challenged all the time is actually tiring yet rewarding. And I like that. Thank you for this question, Mandy. I remember when I finished my MBA, I wanted to do something different. I thought, you know what, I'm going to explore maybe a different industry for a bit. And I ended up going into the IT industry, which was linked to supply chain. It was supply chain and IT. And it was coming up with solutions, but then the solutions do not have problems. Once you implement them, this is it. There was no more challenges. Yes, so I couldn't cope with it. I had to go back quickly to what I know, which is freight forwarding.
Hey,
yeah.
You were conditioned at that point.
Yeah, it is simple. Yeah, it is one of the simplest industries, and it's easy to explain. There's little barrier to entry. Yet you have to be resilient in order to be able to perform at the highest level every day.
We were talking about this and we were saying it seems like a simple industry, but it's also very complex because you need to have a global mindset from the very beginning.
True.
You need to understand geopolitics all over the world, and you need to understand how to form alliances and how to find the best routes and the best partners and everything. So it's quite a unique, quite a niche space to go into, and this is why we're talking about it today. We want all of our listeners to understand more about what's exciting about it, but also what's so complex about it, and really decide if it's the right place for them to go into.
You're definitely right. You have to always stay up to date on what's happening in the world, whether it's economical upheaval, political, weather-related. Pandemics, exactly. We learned a lot from the pandemics. So you have to stay up to date on everything that is happening in the world. Mitigation plans and contingency plans. But no matter how much you prepare and how much you think you're prepared, there's always surprises and there's always cases that you haven't seen. We learned a lot from the pandemics recently, and we had a lot of contingency plans in place in order to mitigate any potential risk that might arise that is similar to that. But then you have new cases that are either weather-related, like that geopolitically impacts your business, like the Red Sea case. And you can utilize some of the contingency plans that you had in place, but you would always have to come up with new ones. So it's a combination between being prepared, having risk management processes, but at the same time being innovative and having an open mindset where you start thinking, okay, what can we do now? How can we partner with the right people in order to service our clients in the middle of a raging fire? And whoever comes up with the solution first, the more chances you have on getting there first and deploying new solutions. And then there's the IT technology element to it, and making sure that you have the tools as well to manage it and deploy it.
Basically, we're like making logistics sound super exciting, which
It is exciting.
Yeah, and I think it's not something I ever considered. It's kind of fascinating to me, but I would like to dig a bit deeper because I know very little about logistics and supply chain and freight forwarding. So could you tell us a little bit more about Scan Global Logistics and your mission? And then we can dig a little bit deeper into what freight forwarding is in a simple term.
When I said me too earlier, I was not joking. I still learn a lot about logistics every day. I'm blessed to have a very strong team behind me, and they know their stuff, and they really know what they're doing, which makes my life a bit easier. But there's always a surprise during the day. So every morning I wake up super excited, and I go to bed crying. I cry myself to sleep every night. I'm drained. I'm like... I've given it all during the day. I'm super exhausted, and I do sometimes cry, yeah? So
We all do, so it's okay.
You've asked me earlier about Scan Global. I would humbly say that it is one of the best companies I've ever worked with. It's one of the best companies I've ever had the pleasure of building a setup with. It's very innovative. It's the fastest growing, or it's one of the fastest growing international multinational freight forwarders out there today. It's been there since 1975, but has grown slow in the Nordics, in the Scandinavian countries, because we're headquartered in Copenhagen. But then from 2007 onwards, we've been on a massive growth journey, which has accelerated in the last few years. And ever since, we have set up 3 offices in the Middle East. We are setting up 3 countries this year in the Middle East. And we still have a massive plan to increase our footprint.
Which ones?
East.
Do you mind me asking?
Yeah, I mean, we have set up 3. We have set up Dubai and Abu Dhabi, and we're setting up Dammam, Riyadh, Jeddah, and potentially Tabuk. We're setting up Cairo, Mersin, and Istanbul, and there's still a big plan for more countries to come. And this is only in this region. We are doing the same everywhere in the world, and we are adding a new country almost every month.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It's an amazing place. It's very innovative. The motto of the company is to uncomplicate the world of logistics. It is not as complicated as we've mentioned. You, Bianca, for example, you should not understand the details. You should give it to a professional who makes your life easier, who will simplify the process for you. And what we have done in the last few years is really complicate the world of logistics, where we started, we see new technology and we say, you know what? We're going to use chatbots now. Why do we need to do this? Let's keep it personal. I want Mandy to call me, and I would pick up and understand what the problem is, because we need to understand what her business needs, what your business needs, and then simplify the process and deliver the cargo without having to make it sound like it's rocket science, because it's not rocket science. So this focus on personalization of the service and on always attempting to uncomplicate the world of logistics.
Thank you, Ayman, for sharing the details about Scan Global. Could you define freight forwarding for us as well?
We've made it too far, by the way, without defining freight forwarding. Yeah. We should have started with this problem.
I'm going to make you circle back a little bit, because I realized we didn't address it.
It's simply the process of moving cargo from point A to point B, and coordinating the activities with all the parties involved in the process, whether it's customs authorities, the trucking company, the shipping line, the vessels, the airlines, the warehouse, the delivery trucks, the value-added services that gets involved in the pick and pack process of the cargo that sits in the warehouse. So it's the management of the full supply chain and the coordination of all the different parties involved, and the optimization of the parties involved in the whole process to make the service faster, cheaper, and meets the expectations of the client. And it sometimes includes the utilization. So if I want to move a pallet or a box from Singapore into Dubai, what's the process? I can put it on a ship, I can put it on a plane, I can use a small vessel, then a plane, or the other way around. So there are different combinations. It depends on what the client requires and what would optimize the full supply chain. It's like being a travel agent, but It's a travel agent. So today I can go to booking.com and pick a hotel, and I can go to Emirates Airlines and book my flight, and I don't need a travel agent. However, if I'm doing this for a family, it becomes a bit complicated. And then if I'm going to Paris and then Milan and then Amsterdam, it becomes even more complicated. And then if I'm doing it for myself or for the family and then my neighbor's family, then it becomes even more complex. But imagine doing it for the whole neighborhood every day, over and over. And they have different destinations every day. So this is where the value add of a freight forwarder, just the coordination and management of all of these activities, while adding the level of intelligence to optimize for the next time. So this time you went from Paris to Amsterdam by train and it took you, I don't know, an hour. How about next time you rent a car and you stop by in Belgium, for example, something like that. So we study, we go back, we take feedback from the clients. How can we improve? And then the next time the customer say, no, I'm being sustainable now. I want to have an electric car instead. So this is where it's continuous improvement of global supply chains.
Fabulous. Thank you. That's actually a really great way of breaking it down and making an analogy that we can all understand and relate to. So thanks for that. And just because you mentioned cargo, can you just tell us a bit about what industries you were serving right now with Scan Global in terms of what's inside the containers?
Everything. It can be absolutely everything. What we focus on is, I mean, honestly, it can be anything. Some of the industries that we specialize in is the automotive industry, the telecommunication industry, industrial, anything related to oil and gas, energy, renewable energy, fashion and retail. I can mention it because it's everything. I cannot even name them. We do have specialized solutions for each of these industries. So, for example, in the automotive sector, we have special containers for test cars that have not been introduced to the market yet. They need to be transported in a strict way. No one is supposed to see the car, you know what I mean? So we need to bring them to the desert in order to test them in high heat environment. So there's specific solutions for that, and there's solutions for regular cars. There's a solution for spare parts. But this is only one of the sectors. We service a lot of sectors. We are the largest supplier of humanitarian aid globally. So COVID vaccines, humanitarian aid that goes anywhere in the world, we get involved. We have a dedicated team in Dubai that manages this, as well as other, control towers across the globe. We are specialized in telecommunication, especially if it's going to difficult to access areas of the world where the infrastructure does not make it simpler. Yeah. So this is the kind. So if it's simple, anyone can do it. If it's complicated, let us take a look at it and let us help you find a solution. That's the motto that we operate in as well.
Amazing. And some of the things that you mentioned, oil and gas, fashion, telecoms, these also happen to be some of the biggest industries here in the UAE and some of the larger exports. So Dubai has become in particular one of the key hubs in the world, right? I think Port Jebel Ali is the largest port for containers, and there's also a big shipyard here. What advantages and also what challenges, because you talked a lot about that, does a place like Dubai bring for a logistics company?
Let me add that it has one of the busiest airports in the world as well. So it's air freight and ocean freight and road freight and everything in between. I think it is a hub. It's a connection between East and West. It's the fact that today you have an amazing infrastructure in Jebel Ali and in Dubai Airport. And very soon, it's already there with DWC Airport. It allows optimization of modes, optimization of services, economy of scale, and making sure that you have connectivities. It's a hub that connects the major ports of the world, the major airports of the world. EK today and Etihad, for example, they go to almost every country in the world. If you add to it, Fly Dubai as well. And this is where the customers are currently moving their cargo to. So it's either importing from these countries or exporting to these countries or transshipping through UAE. It brings a lot of value to our customers globally. It gives us the opportunity to mix and match solutions in order to meet customer needs and demands. So I'll just give you an example. It doesn't have to be a client that is based in UAE. Today, you can be somewhere in the UK, you are importing out of Shanghai, and your cargo might transship via UAE because of the fact that it's a hub that connects different modes of transport. So it gives us and all the other freight forwarders additional options to optimize their clients' supply chain. And at the same time, it makes it a bit more competitive for us because everyone is here. There's a lot of freight forwarders. I've mentioned earlier that barrier to entry in this industry is very little. So anyone with a laptop can call him or herself a freight forwarder. But then how do you leverage on a network? How do you have the right alliances and partners to optimize the service for your client is the biggest challenge. It's like anyone can become a travel agent as well.
It's true.
Yeah.
And actually, just to pick up on that, you, like you mentioned before, you built up the Middle East division for Scan Global, and now you're growing massively. And I think there's a lot to say about the skill in building those partnerships that will make the difference between those people that succeed or fail in this industry. How did you approach starting off in this region? What was the key to your success here?
Super interesting question. We are still building SGL in the Middle East. We have only just started and we still have a long journey and a long way to go. And I would say that what has made us successful so far is the team that we have on the ground and the team and the support we're getting from headquarters. So the fact that we have a global team and a global network that is already ready to support every new country we set up, and with a team that sits in the Middle East here who is the best of the best. We're growing organically here, and we have the opportunity of choosing the best of the best. And this makes a massive difference. It's not only for our customers and also for our network, because we are not only servicing our clients here, we are servicing global clients and that belong to the network, and they need to be happy with the service that we are offering. So I think this combination is the only thing that will give us the opportunity to continue growing in this region and to be different.
I love that. And I think that a big part to that success is also the support from government and all the infrastructure and all the projects that are happening that are allowing the airport to expand. And now there's a new airport coming, right? And there's so much happening on the ground level. What else are you looking at in the future in terms of projects that will significantly impact your industry in this region?
There's a lot happening.
Particularly in Saudi or in Egypt, where you're looking to expand, right? Where's the excitement coming from?
We're already expanding in Saudi. I was there last week, and we were finalizing some of the team members. We already have a brilliant MD on the ground, and he is busy every day trying to create alliances within the country as well. So NEOM has kept us busy, for example, in the last year. Yeah, the infrastructure project and the fact that there's a lot of cargo that moves between UAE and Saudi has kept us extremely busy. But it's only one thing. Saudi is growing so fast. Every time I go back, there's something new. In terms of infrastructure, we have the King Abdullah Economical City. We have the NEOM project, as we already mentioned. There's the Saudi rail. There's the Etihad rail in this country that is going to play a massive role in the regional logistics and global supply chain. So there's a lot of exciting projects. This region being the hub and the connection between... growing up, I'm from Lebanon, by the way, and growing up, it's in our history books, Lebanon is the connection between the East and the West. And then when I learned that there are other countries that are also the connection between the East and West, I was shocked. Oh my God. But then I realized it's the whole region. The whole region is the connection between East and West. If you have the right infrastructure, and this is what the GCC and specifically UAE, Saudi, Qatar are very good at, is building an infrastructure that enables the enhancement and the improvement of this connection. If you look at the history of Dubai specifically and the history of Jebel Ali Port or the history of Dubai Airport, and how much it had an impact on establishing Dubai as a transit hub and a connection between East and West, and how the whole region has benefited from it.
That brings us on quite nicely, actually, when we talk about infrastructure, innovation. I'd like to move on to see how technology and digitization has transformed the logistics sector. And we touched on it a little bit earlier in regards to the role innovation plays in the success of how logistics is delivered. But how is it changing given, the influx of AI and kind of modifications of like GIS technologies and things like that?
20 years ago when I started, I remember how we used to offer track and trace solutions to our clients. We were already advanced by then, but we had to call the shipping line and say, hey, I have this container. Here's container number 123 and container number 456. What's the status? And they would say, okay, it has been loaded on the vessel. Good. So I would go to my system, open the file and put containers have been loaded. And then if the customers wanted to see the status of their shipment, they would go to my website, put the details of their container and say, okay, it has been loaded. And this is what we call track and trace. So there was a lot of manual entry, a lot of communication happening. Fast forward to today, in the last 20 years, it's not only fully integrated, because we are integrated with the airlines, we're integrated with the shipping lines, we are integrated with the customers, right? And the information is flowing naturally with minimal manual input and giving visibility for the clients. But then you add to it the element of AI, and now we have predictive analytics. We have solutions that say, okay, you know what, let's reroute via this airport, or let's reroute via this port, or what if we do it this way? So this is the impact of AI. But if you look at it also from, and not only from freight forwarding perspective, you go to a warehouse, and there are so many warehouses in this region today that are fully automated. You don't even have one person in the warehouse. They're even called black boxes because there's no light. You don't need to have lights in the warehouse because it's fully automated. And this is another advantage of technology and some of the innovations being introduced not only in this region, globally, but then you have to, you can add big data and how you can leverage that in order to predict better solutions, and then how you track utilizing GPS devices implanted or RFIDs or barcodes. There's so much technology being used today, and I'm sure that there will be even more technology being added. We're scratching the surface of what AI can deliver, and I think it's going to positively impact our industry.
In the sense of efficiency, but then do you think that would impact people's jobs in a way?
No, it would create new jobs, in my opinion. It would elevate the level of service that is being offered. It would reduce the number of repetitive jobs. There's always a new technology being added and being implemented, and it has never replaced. It has always elevated the level of service that is being offered. And then you have to look at it from a sustainable perspective as well. How are we going to contribute collectively and individually to reduce emissions and reduce CO2 emission that results from the transportation of cargo? And this is where the optimization of containers comes in. This is where the utilization of electric trucks comes in as well. So there's innovation or technology, I think, is a good enabler that will positively contribute to this industry.
Just to bring you back to something that you mentioned at the very beginning, which is how you started off in this industry. How you started off in this industry as a management trainee at Expeditors. How did that early experience contribute to your professional growth?
So for a very long time, Expeditors was the best company in the world for me, the best company I've ever worked with, until I discovered Scan Global Logistics and until I've seen how Scan Global Logistics operates. But it's the place where I learned a lot. It gave me the opportunity to learn what freight forwarding is. I remember very well the second day on the job. Being a management trainee, you spend the first 6 months to a year just learning. You don't do anything. And you travel also the world, sitting in different locations. It's an amazing opportunity. It's an amazing program, by the way. The second day, one of the guys comes into the room, and we were a team of 6. And he says, Freight forwarding is the second oldest profession in the world. But then I thought, you know what? At least I am guaranteed a job until I retire. It's always going to be in
it's
demand.
always going to be there.
Yes.
But yeah, people will always want to move cargo. But then, I mean, starting as a management trainee and having exposure to the different aspects of the business in a very short period of time gave me the opportunity to grow fast in my career and learn a lot. I think it gave me the opportunity to have an open mindset in my approach and knowing that no matter what, there's always a lot to learn about the industry. I think this applies to any industry, honestly. The more you get deep into it, the more you understand how little you know about it. And if you have an open mindset and if you are always excited about learning new stuff, you will always get something in return from that experience.
And you'll always climb up to the next level, right? The more you understand an industry or a certain function, the more opportunities you see. And so the deeper you go into it,
100%.
and that creates more opportunities.
100%.
So it's like a cycle that kind of repeats, which is really great.
I think it's a mindset, Bianca. It's just the fact that you need to start thinking of this as a challenge. And at the same time, it's something that I want to enjoy doing, because going back to what I mentioned earlier, no one would grow up saying, I want to grow up to become a freight forwarder. But then once you are a freight forwarder, there's two ways. You can look at it from a negative perspective and say, I'm going to punch in and punch out, go and do my own thing in the afternoon. Or you want to say, okay, no, I want to own what I'm doing and I want to make the most out of it and try to learn as much as possible and enjoy it, because you end up enjoying it like anything else, like golf. No one would play golf the first day and say, oh my God, this is the best sport in the world. After 20 years, you're still frustrated.
Yeah. Which is why I don't play golf. Amazing. And the industry has changed a lot. And we talked about how it's been disrupted. And now a lot of jobs are changing because of technology coming and augmenting how we do our work. So when you hire today, because you're managing a big team, what are some key traits that you're looking for in your team?
Attitude.
Okay.
100%. The first thing, the most important thing is attitude. I mean, obviously, I need to look at the career of the person that I'm interviewing. It depends on what I'm looking for, but the number one criteria is attitude.
And do they have to have a specific aptitude in a certain area? Like, does it help if you're an analytical person? Does it help if you're, a quick thinker, really good at assessing risk? Like, where, from a kind of technical understanding, do you think at the core of it,
it depends on at what level you're hiring, right? So if we're hiring entry level, we look at attitude, like I mentioned, and openness to learn. And I would say attitude towards work. I don't know how to describe it as you progress or as you climb up the ladder in terms of the level where we're hiring. It goes back to not only attitude, because it is still the first thing that we look into. Your experience, what you've done in the past, obviously. How much do you know the industry? How well do you know the industry? So it's a combination and depends on the role. A salesperson needs to be an extrovert. Sometimes we have the best people that are introverts, by the way. They are amazing, silent killers. And then you have operations are usually very analytical, smart. They assess risks properly. They look for alternative solutions all the time. So they have this also mindset of how different can I do it in order to service my client better?
Given how much of a presence logistics has in this region, there's a lot of opportunity there as well
100%.
in various different companies. If someone wanted to switch from a different industry into logistics, are there any certain industries that you think is a good match?
Any industry.
Any?
Seriously, we've tried it in many cases. There's a lot of talent in the market, obviously, and there's a lot of freight forwarding companies in the market as well. But we have tried many times before, and most of the time succeeded in finding talents from outside of the industry with the mindset, with the business acumen that allows them to excel quicker than anyone who is coming from the same industry. So which industry? It can be anything. It depends on the role. In the past, we literally hired from all industries. Again, it goes back to attitude, mindset, business acumen, your personality, and how fast can you learn the industry.
And I'm going to put my recruiter cap on for a second. Just thinking about how you even understand a person's attitude or mindset from their CV. So if we go back to that idea of someone is junior, fresh out of their bachelor's or master's program, and they send you their CV. And granted, you're the managing director, you're probably not the first person who's going to look at that CV. But when somebody from recruitment gives you a CV and says, you should really speak to this person, I think they have the right mindset and attitude. How does that jump out to you from their CV? Or if they've already had an interview, what question do you ask them? What do you want to see for them to demonstrate the right mindset and attitude?
Would you believe me if I told you that I never, ever, ever read a CV?
Yes, I would actually.
I don't care what's
Knowing
written
everything,
on the CV.
yeah, we've heard today.
No, I would never, and I have never read a CV. I don't care what you put, how many certificates you have, what you've done in the past. I mean, the only assessment that I would have is sitting in front of you or in front of a screen, because we do a lot of interviews online nowadays, and see you talk, read your body language, and really understand your history and what you've done and how you contributed to your company, whether it's in the pharma industry or whether it's in the media industry. How did you do? What did you do? And this is what matters to me the most. Then how CVs are filtered before they reach my desk as well. I mean, it depends on what we're looking at. And usually it's a set of criteria that we communicate. We want people with a certain number of years of experience. They've been in the country a certain number of years. And according to that, they would be filtered.
Yeah, that sounds good. I think having that human lens when you're hiring is really important. So, especially since you've spent so much time building partnerships, I think you can count on yourself and on your intuition to tell you when you're speaking to the right person.
I'm not always correct, yeah. I've done a lot of wrong decisions in my life, and I'm sure I'm going to continue making wrong decisions. Then obviously how you learn from these mistakes and how you adjust is what matters to me.
Perfect. All right, so the last thing we wanted to ask
you
about...
by the way, sorry, not to interrupt. When I say I've done mistakes, sometimes it was a joint mistakes where we thought the person is the right fit for us and they found out that they are not the right fit for us, right? Or vice versa.
Yes.
So it's like fitting in. You need to find if your traits and your personality and your attitude would fit in with the culture of the company.
But then also I feel like it's like most roles in industries, like for example,
100%.
if we take strategy consulting, for example, not everybody is cut out to be a consultant. And I think this industry probably is the same. I think not everybody is cut out to work in this sector, but if it works to your personality type, then it can
your
be
risk
something.
appetite
Yes,
as well.
exactly. I think that's a really good way to put it. Then that's it. You'll have a job for life, like you mentioned. Yes, thank you for sharing that, actually. It's always good to hear your take as someone at the top of the pyramid on how you approach.
In the middle of the pyramid, come on. We're still a long way to go.
We're just hyping you up.
Yeah.
Okay, so we need to ask about the elephant in the room, which is sustainability. And, you know, we talked a lot about logistics and we talked about how you move cargo through the seas, through the air, on the road. And then the question of emissions, sustainability, offsetting, and in general, just the climate change, they all come into question. So we'd all love to understand a bit about where you place sustainability when you make your decisions. And also what you're seeing across the industry, what other freight forwarders are doing.
It's on the top of the list. And I'm not over-exaggerating here. And I'm not trying to greenwash my company. It is on the top of the list, not only at the company level, but also on the individual level. I'll just give you an example. 2 years ago, I had an SUV. Now I have an electric car. And the reason is we are preaching sustainability in everything we do. We are, as individuals in the company, as much as when we go to meet customers, it's a core offering to any service we do. Unfortunately, today, moving cargo sustainably is more expensive than moving cargo the traditional way because of the additional costs of sustainable fuel or electric trucks, for example, or, biofuel. So, however, we know it. But when we go to a client, we offer two options and it's up for the client. And we encourage the client to take a look at the sustainable option. But it's not our choice at the end of the day, right? However, it's something that we measure regardless. So if you are doing business with us at the end of the year or at the end of the week or at the end of the month or the quarter, you want to see how much CO2 have you burnt or your cargo. So we have reports that can be generated based on the cargo that we touch to give you exactly how much CO2 you've burnt. And we give you options on how to offset. We don't like offsetting as much. We want to avoid CO2 from the get-go, from the beginning. I'm saying that this is when it comes to dealing with clients. I think in the Middle East, Scan Global Logistics is the first international freight forwarder that partnered with local conglomerates in Dubai to offer sustainable air fuel for cargo coming from Hong Kong into Dubai. We were the first in UAE, and something I'm extremely proud of. It's a brand that you all love as well. If you Google it, you'll find that it's a brand that I love as well. This is when it comes to clients, we always try to find the options when it comes to warehouses. We make sure that they are properly, the infrastructure is a sustainable infrastructure. But then when it comes to our consumption, whether it's in an office or in a warehouse, we measure how much electricity is being spent. It's like the culture of the company and of the individuals in the company.
We absolutely love that answer. We had an episode on sustainability that people can listen to, and we're talking about carbon footprint, so anyone can understand what that is. And also, when we talked about finance, we looked at investments from that sustainability lens as well, and we asked someone from Deloitte exactly the same question. It was quite hard to put an exact figure to it at the time, so I'm just going to repeat the question, and you can, hopefully you'll be able to give us some idea of where the logistics industry is today. When you give that option to 10 clients to go sustainable, what percentage normally take it without naming any companies? Just right now to get an understanding.
The trend is increasing, for sure. It is not increasing in this region yet. It's gaining traction in Europe. There's the carbon tax that is currently being introduced as well. It's still on the agenda of most companies, but it's not the biggest priority.
Yeah, no, that's what we know. I mean, we had COP28 here. I think it's good to be realistic of where we are right now, and we're trying to build transparency on that, because I think globally we know that we're not where we should be, but it's so great to see that there are more and more practical options to get us on track
100%.
To achieve our targets.
But let's set targets. So what I want to see is companies coming and saying, in 2023, how much CO2 did we emit, or what's our impact, our global impact? Give me a report. We've done 300 shipments from to how much did we burn? And then, okay, how are we going to reduce this by 10% next year? And we do this as a practice. So we have global clients where we study all of their shipments, and it can be thousands and thousands of shipments. We put them in a system, and then we optimize the routes, the connections, and the modes that are being used in order to reduce emission. And you will be surprised that most of the time you end up also saving costs.
Of course, yeah.
If you look at it at the macro level and you start thinking, okay, I want to reduce my emissions. And if you partner with the right company, obviously, which is us always.
Of course.
Okay, that actually leads us. I think it's nice to finish on a positive note, and thanks for sharing the positive steps that Scan Global are making. We will draw the conversation to a close there, but before we do that, we always close off our episodes with a bit of a teaser to our wildcard question that will be released in our bonus episode. This allows our listeners to reflect a little bit and digest the conversation that we've just had, and to think about how they themselves would answer the question before they tune into the bonus episode next week. So on that note, we will be asking Ayman the following question. In your experience, how do you handle disruptions caused by political tensions, regional conflicts or unexpected events? And what contingency plans are in place to maintain the continuity of shipping logistics operations in the Middle East? It's a bit of a meaty one, but I'm really excited to see how you approach this question. And thank you, Ayman, for sharing and shedding some light, I think, as well on the future of shipping and logistics and helping us understand the sector a little better.
It's lovely to be here. Thank you so much for
It's a great
your
conversation.
time. It's been a pleasure.
Amazing. Thank
Thanks.
you.